Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Betsy Phillips with Baird and Warner, and I am really lucky today because I have Jackie Pilossoph with us, and she is with Home Care Assistants of Greater Chicago, and they are unique. And I'm going to just right away go ahead and introduce Jackie. Thanks for joining us.
And thanks for having me, Betsy.
And, why don't you tell us about first tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into it, and then what you really feel is different and what your specialty is at Home Care Assistants.
Okay, sure. So several years ago, my father was at the time 89 years old, and he and my mom were living in Florida, living the life, normal. Thank God, everything was great. And then he had a fall, broke his hip, and he started to decline significantly after that. I think that's a common story for a lot of people. So at that point, we hired a caregiver to come in, and it was such a wonderful experience. And it changed my parents' life, both of them, because my mom is older also, and she wasn't able to care for him. And so this guy would come in, and they became great friends with him. He became like family. He helped my father bathe, change, run errands and everything. And he was just a lovely, lovely guy. So I never knew what caregiving was until we needed it. And at the time I was looking for a job. And so this was very attractive to me. And I went to work for Home Care Assistants, where I've been for almost 4 years. And we provide those same services. And in the 4 years I've been there, to see how we help people have such a better quality of life is really, I feel like I'm really lucky to do this kind of work.
That's wonderful. And, it just goes to show you that if you said your dad was 89 when he fell, you know what? He still had time to to have the rest of his life and have a good relationship and meet somebody new. It wasn't like, okay, I'm going to just spend the rest of my time sitting in this bed. And right. That's what, and I don't know how many years he lasted, but he could have lived many, many years after that. So,
right. And live with a better quality of life, which is what Home Care Assistants tries to do. And you asked me what sets us apart, how we're different from other agencies. I can't speak about other agencies, but I can tell you what I love, love, love about Home Care Assistants. And it's that we train our caregivers to make sure that our clients are really living their lives no matter what stage they're in. And what that means is we're making sure that they're eating healthy. We're making sure they're staying social. We're making sure they're staying physically active, cognitively stimulated, and then of course maintaining a sense of purpose so that they're just happier and they get a better quality of life. So we're not sitting there with the TV clicker, watching TV. We're making sure that if you're paying us, we're going to make sure that the client has a really good quality of life.
That's great, because that's really important for everyone. And so let's talk about, we are in COVID. I know we have the dogs barking. Mine are sitting here right at this is live. So, life happens, right? We're in a pandemic. Everybody wants to know, how does this work during a pandemic? So maybe you can shed some light on that.
Well, so that's really a good point, because if I was going to hire a caregiver, I would be worried about that, but we have really stepped up during the pandemic. It started right at the beginning. The management of the company really just went full force into safety, and we're going to make sure to minimize the risk every way we can. So our caregivers are practicing all of the protocols from the CDC. They're wearing masks, which they do not take off. They are social distancing from the client as much as possible, unless they have to change them. They are frequent hand washing. They're required to take their temperature before every shift. And so, knock on wood, we have had no cases where we know of transmission. And I really believe it's because we are putting these protocols into place.
That's great. That's great. So now, do your people, do any of them, are they live in? What kinds of services? Talk to us about what your services are exactly.
Okay, so we provide live-ins, but we also provide hourly care. It's whatever the client wants, and it can be changed at any time. You know, somebody might think it's too much or not enough. The way that my parents started out, you know, they were very much like, we don't want anyone in our home. Right. And then after a few times when they got to know this guy, you know, they said, hey, can you come a little longer tomorrow? And then it got to be more and more. And at the end, he did spend a couple of nights there. So we can handle, you know, anything. And what's nice about us is, of course, the more notice we have, the better. But we can handle things. If you call us, we can get someone in there, you know, the next day if need be. But it is better to try to get us ahead of time.
And I know everybody worries about how do we pay for this and long-term care insurance and the process. And do you help with that at all or educate? Okay.
We do. So we take cash, you know, as all home care agencies do, but we also take long-term care insurance, and we have a specialist in our office who knows how to do the paperwork and make sure the people get reimbursed. And a lot of these plans pay right out where you don't even have to pay.
Yeah, so they just pay you for the, and I assume, I mean, now I'm sort of, the rates, you know, is it like the doctors where there's a certain rate that they're going to pay, and then anything over that, the client has to...
Now, I could be wrong, but I think long-term care pays the whole thing up to a certain point.
Up to a certain point.
Plan is different, but it's not like they have like a co-pay or they pay like a certain percentage that I know of. I mean, every plan is different, but I'm pretty sure they just pick it up until the person's policy runs out.
Okay. And location-wise, what's your service area?
So we service all 9 counties in Chicago, all Chicagoland in the suburbs, and we have physical offices in Kenilworth, the Gold Coast, and Oak Brook. But we just service everywhere.
But you service everywhere. That's great. Is there anything else? I know we talk about isolation. I mean, can they take people out of the home and for a walk or those kinds of
good
things?
Question. A couple of things going on right now is that social isolation is a huge problem. Actually, people are saying for seniors, it's worse than the pandemic because they get depressed. When seniors or anybody isn't around people, they suffer from depression, decline physical health, dementia gets worse. These are all really, really bad things. So a lot of people will hire us just for companionship during this time. You know, and a caregiver can come over there and do puzzles and activities and exercise the senior's brain. And then the other thing is a lot of people who have to have a surgery don't want to go to a rehab center, so that they will call us and we'll come live with them, you know, for a week after surgery or whatever they need.
Oh, okay. So you can do that too. So that's great. So then they don't have to go to rehab. That's a really good point, because if you go into a rehab, then let's say you're not living at home, but I'm assuming you service people that are also in assisted living facilities. Right. And then every place you go, you have to have another isolation. So like if you were to go into my ex-husband was in, he had Alzheimer's and he went to the hospital. Well, then when he came to the hospital, then he had to go into another isolation place for 10 days where he was super isolated because...
We have... there are certain communities that hire us because if one of their residents leaves for any reason, like to go have surgery or go into the hospital for anything, when they come back, they have to isolate in their room for 10 days. So they hire us. We get a caregiver to go in there for 10 days.
Oh, that's great.
So communities really are trying to keep things as safe as possible, but it's really hard. And with us, I think the risk is less.
Right, because you're a high quality, high end
Well, plus
agency.
we're going to be one-on-one in the home, so it's
right,
of a chance.
right. So, and which is great, which is another service that people don't think of, the combination of home care and in a facility, that it's not just for people that are living in a single family home.
Betsy,
Or
I want to say one other thing about home care assistance. I think that a lot of people that, like, I know for us, we offer non-medical caregivers. No one is, we have a few nurses and CNAs if that's what the client wants, but we really hire people who love the elderly. I mean, there's a certain person who has to have a warmth and a caring nature and a patience. And that's who we're looking for when we look for caregivers. And so, I've met several of the caregivers pre-COVID we have parties and get-togethers where we all meet the caregivers, and I've gotten to know them, and they're such wonderful people, and they have this desire to help the elderly. And that's really the most important thing, I think, in being a caregiver.
That absolutely, you hit the nail on the head. You have to have the right, I so believe that, because everybody has their gift. And while that probably wouldn't be something that, I would do all day. You've got to have somebody who is, and that goes for anything. I could never be an accountant.
But Betsy, look at you. You work with a lot of the elderly.
I do work. I do work with.
And you're a really warm, caring person. I've known you for a long time. You're perfect for this.
Thank you. And yes, I do work with the elderly. I was trying to give an example. I would be a horrible accountant because I do not want to sit in a desk all day and look at numbers. But thank God there are people that do that, because it is not me. I do love to be out with the people. And yes, you takes a certain kind of person. So, well, thank you, Jackie. Thank you for joining us today. And I just want to let
for having me, Betsy.
Everybody know they can find you. I've got your phone number in the information, and you can.
And we're homecareassistancechicago.com. If anybody wants to look.
That's great. And they can, text me, email us, whatever, and I will get you Jackie's information. Everybody, please stay safe. And I want to wish everybody a happy and safe Thanksgiving. I know it's going to be crazy different this year, and especially hard on our seniors. So let's keep them in our thoughts. And thank you for all you do, Jackie. Really appreciate it.
You too, Betsy. Thanks again for having me.
All right, thanks. Bye now.